All right, let's take a look at the DK Main Slate pricing for this week. We got another slate to tackle, 50K up top. Already reduced our prize pool by half. Thank you to the NFL because they take most of the money. So starting off, first game here, we've got San Jose State taking on Texas. 51.5 point game total, 44 projected for Texas. And you can mostly ignore San Jose State. Walker Eaget was absolutely terrible last week. And upon first glance, Arch Manning is way too expensive given what he did last week. But I do think he goes for 300 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, although there is a low floor because of the blowout factor here. And I think he does try to get it going, though. Walker Eaget, nowhere near my player pool, even at 5,700 in a passing offense. Same thing, Floyd Chalk, no shot. I'm playing him. Don't care that he's 4K. They're going to get blown out. They priced Quintravian Wisner up at 83. That's interesting. I was hoping he would be closer to 71. Baxter would be in the 5s. So both are priced up appropriately. I think Baxter is coming on, but they're still going to ease him in. Wisner definitely more upside than Baxter right out the gate. Wide receiver wise, Wingo priced up at 73. Think he does have a good game here. I think they try to get him going. DeAndre Moore priced down. That's nice at 48. So that could be a angle we look to take here in this game if you want to get something. And then Livingstone did not go up, shockingly, from 34 to 35. So I still like him as Arch Manning's roommate. You get the shower narrative in there. I'm going to ignore injuries. He's just not explosive enough. But Livingstone looked good with that touchdown catch, that deeper catch last week against Ohio State. And it only takes one of those for him to pay off that 3,500 tag. He will be in my pool 100%. I just doubt that I'm going to want to stack Arch, given that what we saw, typically see in those type of situations. Defense could easily score off of Eaget because he puts the ball in dangerous positions. Danny Scudero here, definitely in play. He's going to catch a ton of targets. Similar to Easton Messer last week with Maryland, where FAU got the doors blown off by Maryland. He could catch 10, 15 balls and PPR his way to hitting that 5,600 price tag. Leland Smith, similarly at 52. I do not mind at all, but those are probably the only two options I'm even going to pay attention to on this San Jose State side. Let's look at Penn State taking on FIU. FIU, a team that I bet the over on their win total. This is not one of the games I anticipate them winning. Next week's going to be a big game for them. They have a 54.5 over-under in this game, 48.5 for Penn State, 6 for FIU. You can get rid of FIU from your pool completely. Drew Aller at 8,200. It'll be interesting. They came out slinging it a little bit there early in that game and picking up some yards, trying to feed their weapons on the outside. He's in play. I'll have to wait and see and make a decision later, but it's a very narrow window for him to get there. Nick Singleton, no shot I'm touching at 9K. We saw last week kind of what happens with this offense. They're going to split carries between the big two. And if you look at it, he had 19 yards rushing and 37 yards receiving. He got bailed out by the 2 touchdowns, and a lot of the people played Nick Singleton on FanDuel. I wouldn't play him just because you need those touchdowns to bail him out. I don't think the yards are there. It's just a very thin thing for him to be able to break value at 9K. Not a situation that I'm in on. Similarly with Katron Allen, both of them too highly priced to pay off in this situation with that split backfield. I would say you're going to want to dig deeper on this Penn State side, and you could find value with a Cam Wallace potentially. So he came out And, he could be a guy. We're going to have to look at the running back distribution, but we're going to want to be able to play a little bit cheaper. You got Corey Smith, who could be in play, but they're going to play some of these backups. So maybe taking some dart throws on your Smith, Martin, Wallace, depending on who played the best last week. They would be in play at sub 4K or as punt options, hoping that one of them is the guy who breaks the long touchdown to make it 48-6 after it's 41-0 or so. Looking on the back end, Luke Reynolds way too priced up again. Still, Trevor Pena is interesting at 58. Maybe you could take a shot here or there. Devontae Ross probably a little priced up for 55. Hudson actually played well last week. So at 42, 6 catches on 8 targets, 89 yards and a touchdown. He could be in play. I'm not the biggest Kyron Hudson fan. I prefer Pena and Ross to him from a talent perspective. But maybe they like Hudson and maybe they're going to feature him. Maybe he's going to be the wide receiver 1. So at 42, he does command shots, and I think you can go there, certainly. Baylor SMU. This is our best game on the slate from a shootout potential. 65.5, clear highest spread total on the slate. 34 for SMU, 31 for Baylor. I'm going to want a ton of pieces from this game, so let's see what they're priced at. Love the price on Sawyer Robertson. I can already tell you that. 7,700. Feed me that all day long with his dual threat ability. I will have plenty of Sawyer Robertson based off of that price tag unless something crazy goes on later in this slate. Kevin Jennings I'll have as well. Both can feature their legs and run. Those are good price tags for both of them. Not too cumbersome, and they kind of take Arch out of the pool, and they take Drew Aller out of the pool roughly for me. 8,900 on Bryson Washington. That is a big number because SMU is decent at stopping the run, but he is the unquestioned lead back there. I think that's high, but it's worth it given how good he is. The kid's just an absolute monster. I know he struggled a little bit with Auburn. Auburn's run defense better than the SMU defense, that's for sure. I mean, look at some of the totals he put up. So I think if you're playing Sawyer and you end up being heavily invested, you need to pivot a little bit with some Bryson Washington because he is capable of these 50-point games here that can really bury you from a touchdown equity standpoint for Sawyer Robertson. On the SMU side, we still don't quite know who the top back to own in this backfield is. I think over the course of the season, it will be TJ Harden. Harden played a little bit, but he began the season in a committee role. We really didn't learn a ton about SMU because they blew out a cupcake. McFall is your other option. They're at 5 and 47. I think both are in play in this situation. Wide receiver wise, Josh Cameron had a terrible game last week for Baylor. That doesn't mean you should fade him. So 6K, great price tag on him. He's very talented. He's very capable of popping off for a number of touchdowns. I like him a good bit. Ashton Hawkins also in play at 5K. And then Cole Wilson, Michael Trigg, both in play as well. There are good stack options for Sawyer Robertson with all 4 of them being in the pool, certainly, right out the gate. SMU is usually a tricky team to play from a wide receiver standpoint. You kind of don't know what you're going to get. Yamir Knight, JMU transfer, I wouldn't go there. I don't think he's going to be the featured weapon in this offense. Jordan Hudson is always an interesting guy, but then he was banged up against East Texas A&M. So maybe if he comes back and plays, he'll play in this game because it's going to be a big one, but we'll have to keep an eye on that. RJ Maryland's a guy. He started slow here in this first game. He's coming off of the knee injury, and I think he's going to end up being a difference maker. So if you kind of look at his kind of game log style here, he tends to show up in these closer matchups. Sans that BYU game, they were awful. But Mike, they played a close one with Nevada last year, 8 for 162 and 1, and we all got excited about it. Close game with UL, 6 for 83. So I think he's a guy you will want to take shots on in these games where they're going to be pushed. And this is a game they will be pushed. So Maryland's a good stack option for me. Romello Brinson played really well in week 1 this year. So I think he's in play at 48. And that's kind of where I would stop on the SMU side. It's going to come down to Maryland, Hudson, and Brinson. Right now, I would lean Maryland and then Brinson, but each is perfectly fine to be in play. And then where's Cooper? Cooper played well last week, actually. He played well once. Is this Cooper? Yeah, Jalen Cooper. So he played well last week. It's going to be something to keep an eye on. If he is fully in a rotational role with Jordan Hudson out, he could end up being the punt option on this slate. Moving on to the Cy-Hawk. Rocco Bex looked great last week, by the way. 6,500 for Rocco, always an enticing price tag. 42.5 over under, lowest on the slate by 7. It's going to be just a slog. I think that the offensive line for Iowa State, given what we saw against Kansas State, is really going to struggle with the front 7 for Iowa. Rocco's going to be under a ton of pressure. I don't love that. Mark Gronowski played awful last week. It's Iowa. I think that front 7 for Iowa State's nasty. I think the back end's where you can kind of get them. Rocco at 65, as much as I would want him to be in my player pool, probably isn't. Gronowski probably isn't as well, given the lower scoring nature of this game. Kamari Moulton would have been in my player pool, but he's now banged up. So we don't know. Yeah, he isn't listed on the depth chart ahead of week 2. So I don't know where we're going to go there. Kirk Ferentz is not going to say a dang word about it. So that's going to bring in some question marks, but that does open up a ton of value. That's probably where we're going to end up going. In Chad Hansen, you got Iowa State. Maybe you could go there at 54. I probably would want to just stay away just because of the offensive line versus defensive line. What's up, JB? Washington is definitely going to be a guy in play at 31. Iowa, we're going with Iowa running backs. You're going to take shots. 3,100 for Terrell Washington is definitely going to be a guy we're going to look to. And then Xavier Williams at 3K is the other one that we're going to look to. One of those two is going to be the starter for this Iowa offense this week, with Kamari Moulton probably out. So that's our value of the week right there, guaranteed. The fact that Chase Soul is priced at 5,100, I've already turned coat 2 weeks in. I had such promise for him, and he is terrible. So don't even look his way. Ben Bramer, highly underpriced at 3,900. The tight end caught 2 touchdowns last week. He was a featured option in week 1. I think he's going to be a very good focal point of the offense for them. Xavier Townsend, they're already pricing down because he's not good. Eskildson over here, he played well again last week. He's not getting a ton of targets, but he's hitting big plays. He's on the shot plays. Gabe Burkle's the second tight end, so I wouldn't go there, and I'm ignoring all Iowa wide receivers for the time being, certainly. So that's interesting. Iowa running back will be in our lineup. That's a certainty at 3,100. So give me that all day long. All right. Looking at Texas Tech, Kent State. Kent State sucks. They almost lost to Merrimack. They should have lost to Merrimack. They're going to get destroyed here. They got a 6-point team total. They'll be lucky to hit that. Texas Tech, 60.5 over under on this game. 54.5 for Texas Tech. They're going to hit every bit of it. Personally, so this is an interesting one. Bayron left the game. I'm a big Bayron Morton fan. Bayron left this game injured, and I think that he sits out this week. He's got some kind of lower leg muscle injury, shin thing. I think they sit him out. I don't think they risk him against Kent State. There's no reason to. So Will Hammond at 83, 100% in play, because he's going to get a little bit more leash given that Bayron's out. I think they play Will Hammond a ton. He had a nice game against Arkansas Pine Bluff. He had a 64-yard touchdown run, so he's mobile. He's definitely in play at 83 because that's a team that's going to run the score up for sure. You're going to want pieces from this thing. Williams and Dickey, that is big prices on those boys. I think I would stay away to some extent, but man, either one of them could absolutely explode at that price tag. That's something that I'm going to have to consider given that, but I don't love the pricing there. I would hope that they would be more in the sixes for me to want to take shots because there is a split there. I think Williams is the 1A, Dickey the 1B, in my opinion, with Quentin Joyner now lost for the season. Wide receiver wise, they kind of spread the work around this week and they got the top three priced up. So Douglas is definitely Douglas, Eakin, and Virgil. Any one of them can pop off on any given week. This is one of those ones you'd be playing roulette with this thing. I think they're in play because they're studs, but man, that's going to be hard to pick right now because it could be any one of them. They could each go for 70 yards and a touchdown in this thing. No doubt about it. But we are going to have plenty of salary available with the Iowa running back situation in there. So that's an easy 3K spend. I mean, we don't have to worry about value this week there. Illinois Duke, one hell of a game. One of the best games on this Saturday slate overall. It's probably an underrated game. 49.5 team totals overall. Illinois projected for 26. Duke 23. Heck of a game. What a game this is going to be. This is a game you're going to want to watch. Baylor SMU on one TV, Illinois Duke on another. No doubt about it. Luke Altmaier, nice price on him, 6,400. He is mobile. This is a tough defense led by Manny Diaz at the helm of this thing. 6,400, though, still a good price tag for him. Darian Mensah, quarterback for Duke, 62. Not bad. I think the run game for Duke's going to probably struggle a little bit here, so I think the pass game's going to have to pick up the slack, putting Mensah in play, and he is a little bit more mobile than he gets credit for. Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfery, clear top running backs for Illinois. Lawfery's explosive, and he catches the ball out of the backfield really well. Fagan will carry the ball more. I like Fagan. I like Lawfery. I think you could take shots on each right out the gate. Just on first thought, Jaquez Moore at 44. I probably would avoid. They really split the work with Moore, Jones, and Castle. I kind of want to stay away from the Duke running back situation for the most part, given this game environment. I'd rather play it through the wide receivers. Quayshawn Brown at 59. That makes sense that he'd be the number one. He usually is the top target for them. I'm going to prefer on Duke to lean. Samir Hagans is also one of their starting wide receivers. I'm playing Duke. If I'm playing Mensah, I'm playing him through Cooper Barcade. So Barcade at 4,900, it's a glaring value for me. He had 5 catches, 117 yards against Elon. Go Phoenix. Barcade and the most of that production came early in that game. So he's a transfer from Harvard. You would say, well, why was he at Harvard in the first place? He went there for the academics. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school. He wanted to get a good education. Obviously, he's at Duke now, so he's still in it for the academics. But this kid's a stud. So he's underrated. He's not being valued properly yet. 4,900, he's going to be a guy that I'm really going to like. Here, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just shove in these guys just so that I can kind of show who's glaring value right now. We'll throw Washington in just for the heck of it. Okay. So let's go back to Duke, Illinois. So that's our glaring value so far. Looking at Illinois. So I'm not a Dixon guy. I'm not worried there. LZ, I'm not that big of a fan either. He's probably the third option in this offense. If I'm taking shots on Illinois, it's between Justin Bowick, he caught 2 touchdowns, and Hank Beatty. So I like Hank Beatty. I think Hank Beatty could be their wide receiver 1. I'm a big Justin Bowick fan personally. He caught 2 touchdowns last week. So I think either one of them is a worthy guy to take shots on. I would lean towards Beatty, but I like Bowick a ton. I could see double stacking even in this situation. I don't love it because it's not a great game environment, but Beatty is a guy I would take shots on for sure. Or Bowick. I'm fine with either one. I like them both. Right now. We'll have to wait and see where I end up on that, though. Quarterback. Okay. UVA taking on NC State. 53.5 over under. 28 for NC State, 25 for UVA. It's going to be an interesting game. I think CJ Bailey at 7K is in play. It's not my favorite price tag, but his mobility does keep him in play. I got to see why there's a questionable tag. All right, minor AC joint injury. Is that a passing arm, or a non-throwing shoulder? I'll have to look more into that because Chandler Morris at 6,300. I like that. So if Chandler Morris is healthy and it's a non-throwing shoulder, I could see taking shots. Him not being healthy, don't love that. 6,300 though, against this NC State team. Caton Hauser was throwing it on him. I have no problem taking shots on Chandler Morris. He's probably one of the better values I've seen at quarterback so far. I'll throw him in for now if he stays healthy. 6,500 for Hollywood Smothers is a great value. That's a very, very good value on Smothers. I have no issue playing Hollywood Smothers at 6,500. He's going to get all the work he can handle, both running and passing. Shove him in while we're at it. Running back wise, for Virginia, Jamari Taylor is their top option. I don't hate that price tag at 43. I'm happy to play him. Don't mind that at all. Noah Rogers, ignore at 56. He stinks. Trell Harris, he played last week. There was some concern he wouldn't. He's the top option for Virginia. 5,600 is a good price tag for him. No problems playing him. Justin Jolie, he's going to pop at some point. So 54, he's in play. I don't love it. Wesley Grimes kind of came out of nowhere and had a big game. 47. Don't love that either. The shocker for NC State was this kid, true freshman Teddy Hoffman. So Hoffman had 5 catches for 93 yards last week, and he did that on 11 routes run. That's tough to try to play that and predict that he got a target on 50% of the routes he ran. Well, 55% of the routes he ran. So how do you buy into that? You know, I don't know that you can buy into that. His stat line looks good. I just don't know that you can buy into that. Grimes, much safer bet here with 4 for 121 and 1. He's more of the downfield threat for this team. I could see playing Wesley Grimes at 47 if you want to take shots on Bailey. Cam Ross is definitely the number 2 option for me for Virginia. At 35, he's a good play. That's another value, so we'll throw him in there for sure. Yeah, and then Jamal Adrien, I wouldn't play over Trell Harris for 100 less. It's just no chance I'm doing that. All right. Syracuse, UConn, another good game to stack up here if we wanted. 59.5 point total. I like that. 33 points for Syracuse, 26 for UConn. We've got some shootout potential here. Steve Angeli looked okay at 6,800. Meh. He's not mobile. Don't love that. I would prefer to have a rushing quarterback. He's going to have to hit the 300-yard bonus. He could. John Fagnano, I think you could play him, or Joe. Sorry, Joe. You could play him maybe. 5,900. That's a decent value. He doesn't really move. No running game to him. He's not going to throw for a ton of yards, so probably not at 59. Never mind. Running back wise, Yassine Willis is going to be in our lineups. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. At 63, that's a good matchup for him. They're going to lean on him. He had 3 touchdowns last week. Broke my heart with that. Cam Edwards is in play. Mel Brown in play at 4K and 5,900. You could go there after what Tennessee was able to do on the ground against Syracuse. No shot I'm playing Gill He's going to go off, and nobody's going to play him because he's 6,500, and we had him on the side of milk cartons throughout last week. He barely played or barely saw a target last week. Jonte Cook was the leading wide receiver, 6,100, reasonable there. And then Skylar Bell was definitely the top option for UConn last week. You want to take shots there, go right ahead, 5,700. I get it if you want to go there. Justice Ross Simmons was clear operating he was kind of operating as the 2 while Gill didn't do anything, but I think Gill gets more involved. Cook's probably your wide receiver 1 here at 61, but I'd much rather play this game through Willis at 63. Kind of looked like LaQuinn Allen last week. All right, Ole Miss traveling to Kentucky, the team that knocked them out of the playoff last year. 52.5 over under. Ole Miss with 31. Kentucky with a 21-point projection. I bet this because I think Ole Miss just tries to kill them. And to be fair, Zach Calzado was awful. He threw for 85 yards against Toledo last week. So what the heck's he going to do against Ole Miss? Don't know. Don't think it'll be very pretty, though. So Calzada at 55, completely not even in play. Austin Simmons is in play at 73, certainly. Lane Kiffin wants to run the score up if all possible. I think they're out to prove a point in this game. Simmons is in play at 73. Don't have problems there. Kejuan Lacey is underpriced again. So he is going to be a staple for me as well. There's a lot of value here, boys. You could probably play about anything you want. So Kejuan Lacey's definitely in play. So Iowa running back, Smothers, Willis, Lacey, definitely top options. McGowan has a good price tag here at 34. He was priced down last week. I took some shots. He played okay. He played pretty good with 78 yards and a touchdown last week against Toledo on 18 totes. Dowdle kind of got bailed out by a 79-yard touchdown run. So he had 13 carries for 50 yards otherwise. I think you can put him in play as well at 41. Each is an option for value, but I would prefer the Iowa running backs personally, and I would try to stay away from the Kentucky guys. Caden Lee, he was on a milk carton last week. I played him. He barely caught the ball, maybe didn't at all. Don't know that I ever saw him. That was terrible. DeJon Stribling was catching passes from the second-string quarterback, and he barely played. So I think Lee stays in the pool on the off chance that he picks something up. Stribling out of the pool for me. I would rather go Harrison Wallace, even though I think he sucks. He had 8 targets, so I think he's in play at 49 as a stack partner. And Daquan Wright had a big part in this game. So at 44, he's in play. He had a really nice game. 4 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. With Luke Haas out for the year, you could definitely say that he's in play, going to be a featured option in this offense at tight end, moving into a full singular number 1 role. And then where is Caleb Odom? Right here. 3K. Okay, we got another cheapie. So 4 of 6 for 57 and a touchdown. He played pretty well early in that game. That was not late targets. On the second drive of the game, he was getting targets. So at 3K, he's worth some shots. You know, Lee performed terribly, but I'm going to go back to the well here. Kansas, Missouri, another one of the better games of the day here. 51.5 over under, 29 Missouri, 22.5 Kansas. Jalen Daniels looks healthy. 6,600 for Jalen. He's going to be hard to want to fade here. He's going to be a guy that you're going to put in your pool for sure. Bo Pribula, now the unquestioned number 1 for Missouri. I think he's in play. He's mobile. Sam Horn now out at 56. He's gone so it's Pribula's job solely. So he's in play. Each of them perfectly acceptable options. Ahmad Hardy at 7K. He's got to be in play because they're going to be able to run the football. That's kind of their bread and butter. Hardy transfer from Louisiana Monroe. Just an absolute stud. Highshaw is in play for me. No doubt about it. Looks like LaShawn Williams is going to be available, but with him being banged up, it looked like a shoulder injury when I saw it against Fresno State. Highshaw at 51, great play as well. He's definitely in the pool. So, yeah, it comes down to Hardy and Highshaw to me. I think both are available and decent options. Kevin Coleman, former Mississippi State wide receiver. He's at 6,100. I don't hate that play at all. Marquise Johnson is in play at 57. No doubt if you're playing Pribula, I think either one of them is a fine option. Joshua Manning's the number 3. I prefer those two over Manning, but that's a nice price on Manning as well. And then the big two are Emmanuel Henderson and Cam Pickett. So week 0, I touted Emmanuel Henderson, and he didn't do a whole lot. And it was Cam Pickett who had 2 touchdowns. Well, guess what? Emmanuel Henderson came back last week, had 6 catches, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So which one is it going to be each week? I don't know. Each one's got a 2-touchdown game. I would lean Henderson. I think Henderson's the more talented player. If I was going to play one team with one of them on it, I'm playing Henderson. But I don't think Pickett's not in the pool. So feel free to play either one. I just would prefer Henderson in my humble opinion there. Now, I'm looking forward to seeing this because Oregon, Oklahoma State. What is the pricing here? Oregon, this game's 58.5 over under, 43-point team total on Oregon, 15.5 for Oklahoma State. I'm ignoring Oklahoma State. Hoss Haney now out. Zane Flores, solely his job. Oregon's going to beat the snot out of them. I feel terrible for Mike Gundy. He just hasn't kept up with the league. By the way, if anybody has a question about this TCU North Carolina slate tonight, feel free to drop it in there. I've already built for that, but it's a interesting one as I look at Jordan Hudson talking to Randy Moss on the screen here. So Dante Moore at 8,500. I don't mind that price tag. If you got to spend it somewhere, Moore is a guy that I think is going to continue to grow in this offense. Played well. He's going to be able to run. He's mobile. I think that's a interesting spot. Playing anybody from this Oregon team is going to be weird because they're really going to spread it around. Mekhi Hughes also on a milk carton from last week at 8,700. He played maybe 5 snaps. He had 1 carry, 1 catch, and I'm pretty sure it was in the 3rd quarter. So no chance. Do not play Mekhi Hughes. That's right out the gate, unless Dan Lanning comes out and says, hey, we're going to play a lot of Mekhi Hughes this week so he can learn the offense. Don't play him. Noah Whittington will be your top running back on Oregon this week. So you want to play Noah Whittington, go right ahead. I think he's a great play at 5,500. No issue whatsoever. Perfectly happy playing that. Lamar came in second. So JB, so we talking FanDuel because that's where it's going to be interesting because DK's got a real weird pricing on Joseph Manjack at 1K on FanDuel. Okay. I prefer Hoover to Lopez. It's a tough build on FanDuel trying to get there. I don't hate the Jordan Bailey thing. It's a very tough build on FanDuel. I built one earlier. I don't tend to try to play a ton there for showdown unless something's glaring. But Hoover's my top option in this game. Devon Gauze is going to be the starting running back for North Carolina. I don't really love the backs in this game. That's why I was kind of leaning towards playing on DK. McAllister, definitely the top option at wide receiver. You're going to need to pair him with Hoover. Guarantee that. So I'll just tell you exactly what I built earlier because I threw something together. I don't mind Gio Lopez. I was a big fan of him at South Alabama. And I would say, so I went Hoover captain, Ship from North Carolina in my flex. Was that Jordan Ship? Anyway, he's going to be one of the starting trio of wide receivers. Johnson, Inez Johnson, uh, and McAllister with Lopez. And then my punt play was Ethan Small from TCU. He's 1,600. And I don't mind him. He's going to be the wide receiver for TCU. And he was rotating in during the when Joseph Manjack sat out a couple weeks ago. He was in the starting lineup. So I think he's on the field a little bit. But it's such a hairy slate. Normally, FanDuel, I want to play running backs. If you want, you could swap in Davion Goss on that in there somewhere. But it's a weird slate to build for because neither team has great running backs. I do not like Kavorian Barnes. I don't like the TCU running back situation whatsoever. Yes, CJ Rogers. I get that. I get that. I can see that. It's a tough one. It's such a weird game. But yeah, no problem, man. So looking at Oregon wise, yeah, Jaden Lamar was the second back on the field at 3K. I really know we know Whittington's going to get work, so I would prefer to play him through that. Oh, Justin, UNC or TCU, man. So I've flipped back and forth. I refuse to bet this game because everything screams that UNC is going to try to build for 26, not this season. But you have Bill Belichick has all offseason to try to confuse Josh Hoover. And I think he can. So that's where it gets interesting, right? Is if you give Bill Belichick all offseason to prepare for this one game where he's going to be in the national spotlight, he's going to want to make a good first impression. I think Hoover could have a tough time here. I think TCU is a far more talented team overall, but they do lack a run game. And you're talking a one-dimensional team against Bill Belichick. Man, that's going to be real tough. Like, that's why this is a real weird game because what are the weapons for UNC going to be able to do? You know, I think that if you're playing, I would multi-entry definitely, and I'd want to get some exposure to UNC captains, maybe Goss, maybe Gio Lopez. Kobe Paysour is going to be one of their options. He's been there a long time, so I think that's a real interesting game as far as trying to play DFS through. Certainly. So Oregon wide receivers, man, they did price him up. DeCorian Moore did not play a ton in that blowout, but he's definitely their number one option at wide receiver. He didn't get a ton of looks. He will be leaned upon in a Tez Johnson role, even as a true freshman. Kenyon Sadiq's is the best tight end athlete in the country, 63. If you want to take shots, you can, but after seeing that price tag, I think I'm going to end up playing through Whittington. Justice Lowe did not start, so I don't think I would go there. Gary Bryant Jr. definitely in play. Malik Benson, his ghost body somehow scored a touchdown and led the team in receiving last week. I don't mind taking shots here, but I think you're really going out on a limb trying to figure. I think Moore is the clear top option for this pass attack, though. If I was taking a shot, it's on DeCorian Moore. And then maybe some Gary Bryant on the back end if I just got stuck at that 4,800 price tag right out the gate. Just first thoughts here. Florida versus South Florida. So this is going to be an interesting one. By the way, I just want to point out that if you go look at the comments on my South Florida Boise video, that one comment guy, he really hated that I picked South Florida and said I was a so-called expert. I'm a terrible gambler. I'll be honest with you. Don't ask me to bet on games because that's not my forte. But man, did he hate me for that. And yeah, South Florida covered by a little bit, I'm pretty sure. Boise State did play good. So sorry about that. They play in the hot dome, according to him. Good for him, man. Good job. So South Florida's going to put up a fight here. Man, they really do need to. But Florida, 54.5 total on this game. 36 points for Florida, about 19 for South Florida. Byron Brown, always in play, 6,700. He's going to will this team along the way. I just don't think I could play there. Yeah, I'm starting to get better, JB. I've got haters. I'm pumped. I don't really read the comments. I just having to read that one. I'm sorry. Like that was awesome though. I appreciated that. I need to get more. DJ Lagway at 72. I'm not his biggest fan. I've admitted that, but I think he'll play well. So on DJ Lagway, I'm more neutral to Lagway, where I think everybody hypes Lagway up here, and I'm more middle. I don't think he stinks. I just think he's not as good as everybody says he is. I just haven't seen it. I need to see a 300-yard game and 3 touchdowns against a competent opponent, not South Florida. I want to see him do it against Miami. I want to see him do it against Florida State, whatever. Somebody like LSU. Give me a big game against an SEC, a good SEC team, and I'll really start buying it. But 72, you want to go there, go right ahead. I just don't know that I can pay that. I think he's in play, but I don't know that I can play that. Byron Brown, though, 67 is interesting, but man, that's a tough matchup. I think Florida's good on defense. I will play Jaden Baugh all day long at 6,200. I love Jaden Baugh. If you saw the SEC running backs preview, he is one of, if not my favorite running back in the SEC. 100 yards last week on 9 carries with a touchdown. They were playing Long Island, who sucks. I will take Jaden Baugh every day, all day at 6,200. Jacoby Jackson is his backup, but I like Baugh the better. If you want to take, heck, you can play both in this matchup, but we'll see. They're South Florida's defense is definitely more stout up front. Eugene Wilson, he had maybe the best stat line of the week last week in that LIU game. I don't know if y'all saw it. The man had 4 catches, 5 catches for -4 yards and a touchdown last week. That didn't put a ton of hopefulness in my heart. I'm a big Eugene Wilson fan, but 6,800 for that. He's going to be the most targeted guy on the team. I just don't know that I want to pay 6,800 for that after that -4-yard game, but he can do some work. So the guy who stepped up, Dallas Wilson, was out last week. Yeah, he didn't play last week. So he's a good player, though. But the guy who stepped up was Vernell Brown, and he got targets early and often last week. First couple drives of the game. So when you get those blowout games, I want to see who's getting targets on the first 3 drives of the game, and then I don't really care after that. Vernell Brown was getting targets early, and he was good. So at 3,400, sign me up. I will be playing some Vernell Brown. I thought he looked great. And then the only top option I would play on the wide receiver side for USF, if you really want to, is Kayshawn Singleton. He caught all 5 targets, 93 yards, touchdown. He's definitely the best option for them. Can he do work against Florida's defense? Meh. I don't know about that. But if I was going to take a shot there, it would be him. Chaz Nimrod's definitely their second option. If you really want to go there, that's fine. But I don't think you're going to need to. There's a ton of value on this slate. So that's going to make for a lot of really fun builds and really good ways to be able to get your high ends of your Sawyer Robertsons, your Bryson Washingtons, and stack up, get your Jennings, Kevin Jennings in there. So like there's a lot of ways to be able to play this thing. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to developing how I want to play these games and start putting it together. And I like to narrow my pool as I go. So, once I get to that later in the week lineup builder, when I start going through stuff, I will go, all right, I've kind of narrowed down and we've put a new structure in. I'm going to try to do my core plays at each position and then just kind of follow it up with the rest of my pool. Try to get a little more organized for you guys because otherwise it's way too scatterbrained for what y'all are looking for. So I will do one of these for FanDuel because I know a lot of you play on FanDuel exclusively as well. So I'll knock that out once they drop their slate. They do it a little bit later. And I'm going to be back later tonight. You might have seen there's a scheduled stream. Brian and myself are going to talk about week 1 and start previewing week 2. And we'll be back tonight that's about 3 hours from now or so to talk about that stuff. So look forward to it. And I will see you guys later. Goodbye.